like many other human beings, what prompts the question is often pain. The existential crisis of why am I here? Why is the situation the way it is? Growing up in a tumultuous, difficult situation caused me to wonder what I could do about it. Why am I feeling stuck at my job? Why am I feeling like a rat in a wheel cage or something like that, doing the same thing, getting the same results? How do I get out of that set of conditions and preconceptions so that I can get a different set of results? It starts by asking that question. There's no doubt that some of us grew up in environments that are very different, but all of us have the ability to take responsibility. And even if you've had a quote-unquote rough life, a lot of challenges, a lot of blocks on your path, you can meet that challenge. Well, I have a reason why I'm this way. Sure you do. However, where are you at right now? Do you want to make a change at this point, or do you just need a hug?
So many people will accept part of it. They'll say yes, but. And then as soon as they say the but, it denies what you just said yes to and presents what you really believe your excuse. The reason it's so hard for you, that's your excuse. Well, that excuse is not valid. You may think it's valid, but there's plenty of other people that have had equally as bad an upbringing as you've had. In fact, a lot worse. So I could sit down with any one of you, look at your excuse, and find a way to present an option.
Our perception of the world is massively distorted because our perception is only based on our own experiences, our own personal views, our own beliefs, and it's based on what we were taught and what we learned. And whatever we perceive to be true, whether it is true or whether it's complete BS, when we get out there, we will project that out onto the world.
Feelings of lack of worthiness. Don't be proud of what you look like. Don't be so confident. Bad programming comes in childhood and continues all the way through adulthood. And unless you go and you rewrite the story, you're going to have a repeat of the same type of story as you get older. It'll just be a more complicated, sophisticated version of it, but ultimately it'll be a sad story.
All these beliefs we've heard from other people, we accept as being the way the world is. The simple truth is that our beliefs are not true in themselves. They become true in our experience if we believe them.
So if we have those types of beliefs that really wire up the brain, we must first identify, how can I go back and basically disconnect from that old view?
All of us have resistance somewhere. If you look deep enough, you'll find that place that you don't want to go, the place you don't want to look. It's too uncomfortable, it's too scary, and I would argue that that's where the hot stuff is. And then we can go deeper and find out about a person's identity. What is it that they believe about themselves that is causing them to behave that way? If you're getting poor results, less than desired results from your unconscious mind, it means that there's some bad programming in there. It means that there's some outdated software that needs to be updated and upgraded.
We learn from the time we're very young that we need to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. But then we don't learn to love ourselves. Maybe that's why everybody's so messed up. The other interesting thing you'll find that happens when you learn to love yourself is that you will find that other people love you more when you love yourself more. You will also find that other people respect you as much as you respect yourself. Other people value you as much as you value yourself. And the more that you love yourself, the more love you have to give, and also you'll find the more other people love you. There's really no downside, and I cannot figure out why this is such a huge secret. I just can't figure, because there's no downside. People say that it's egotistical to love yourself. No, the ones who are the most egotistical or narcissistic are the ones who don't love themselves. and they're overcompensating. It's the other way around. The people who love themselves are the most generous and joyful people to be around. And people have asked me, well, how much love for self is too much? There's no such thing as too much. Our planet suffers from too little self-love. And when we love ourselves, we stop judging ourselves so harshly. We become kinder to ourselves. And when you are kinder to yourself, you're kinder to other people. When you stop judging yourself, you stop judging other people. People who we see as very critical, judgmental, they're actually even more critical and judgmental inwardly towards themselves. What you are inside is what you express outside. So the more you love yourself inside, the more you'll show that outside. So that is really the number one key thing. The second thing that I learned, which is really important, is to live your life fearlessly. Be yourself fearlessly. It's really important to be fearless. And what do I mean by fearless? I mean that stop fearing things like what other people think of you. Most people don't really care. I used to worry so much about what people thought of me. I was, as I said, a people pleaser. So I feared everything. I feared what people thought of me. I feared not being good enough. I feared failing. I used to treat myself like a doormat. I would put myself last. I would always put other people ahead of me. When I would do things for people, I didn't do it from a place of love because I didn't do it because I wanted to do it for them. I did it because I feared what they would think of me if I didn't do it. So every choice, every decision I made came from a place of fear, not from a place of love. The same with the kind of foods I chose to eat. If I chose to eat healthy food, I didn't choose it because I valued my life and wanted to be healthy and live long. I did it because I feared illness. I took supplements and I was obsessive about them because I feared illness. I feared everything. I was obsessive about things. I had a lot of obsessive compulsive behaviors, all of which disappeared with the coma and the near-death experience. So I lived a life where every decision was made from fear. People tell me that some fears are good because fear keeps you safe. But I disagree, because fear actually immobilizes you. Love keeps you safe. If you love yourself, you'll never put yourself in danger. You won't put other people in danger. When you love yourself, when you love your life, you value your life, you will keep yourself safe. The other really important thing I learned, which I talked about a little bit, is that life is a gift. Most of us don't realize that, and as I said, it's a shame that we don't learn things or we don't realize things until it's taken away from us. We don't realize the value of things until it's taken away. The thing about life, what I learned, is that everything about life is a gift, even the challenges. We're here to experience life, so we're here to even experience the challenges. When I had cancer, I never would have thought that was a gift. I suffered a lot, terribly, and if anybody told me that was a gift, I would have thought it was absolute nonsense because I was suffering so much. But today, I know that was the biggest gift that life could ever have given me, because I wouldn't be standing here today in beautiful Sedona, Arizona, if that hadn't happened to me. Thank you. Everything in life is a gift in the end. And if it doesn't feel like a gift right now, it means you haven't reached the end yet.
it took me 10 years to really get over the grief, to really embrace love. And I think the key for me too is even though I had had those profound experiences, I was still looking for joy and peace out there somewhere. Who can bring this to me? Tanya, if she could just love me enough to make me feel okay, or if the boys could just love me enough to make me feel okay, or in my job, or whatever else I was grasping at to feel like I was wanted and I was loved and I was okay. Even though I had been in the arms of God and felt perfect, but I was still looking for it for an outside source. In fact, I was wandering around thinking, where's all that love I felt here? Where will I ever find it? And the key was when I finally looked within myself instead of looking out there. When I finally realized, oh, to love unconditionally, I get to love myself unconditionally. And when that happened, the healing began, because I was never going to find it out there. It had to be felt within. And even in my Christian upbringing, this Jesus fellow said, the kingdom of God is within you. Don't look out there for it. And I began to maybe grasp what that meant a little more, that it is within us. We are divine beings. We do have the power to create our own situations if we embrace ourselves that way and do so. But the message is very much the same. And it's a message, number one, of unconditional love and our connection. It's a message of overcoming, and it's a message that we always have a choice. You know, I mean, we have a choice. We are the designers and the architects of our own experience here, and it's all based on how we choose to experience the things that happen. So, choosing joy and choosing to move on and choosing to embrace the light rather than dive into that deep dark dive is really what's happened and where life is going.
And I said, I made this experience. And sometimes I reassure people as part of my job when they ask, do I need to be scared? And I answer them, no, not at all. I'm also certain that what I've experienced is something that applies to everybody. Nobody could talk me out of that, but it's got nothing to do with the experience that you could have as a pious Christian. That you might suddenly meet Jesus or that Mary appears in front of you. In my case, this didn't happen. All those things could have possibly happened, but that wouldn't have fit into my vision, my experience. It was completely different.
Es war ganz anders.
It was way better. Well, all those ideas that you might come up with, especially in my occupation, you're often confronted with the question of what happens after death. What counts? What should I take into consideration? These things are all crutches and additions, somewhat my own attempts to walk. I won't need my legs to walk anymore. By the way, physicality. I was there without my body. I was more than just myself, but without my body. Just try to explain that to somebody. How are they supposed to grasp this?
When I get out to the other end, there is, as if there are words to describe that, this is even more amazing than what I already described. There is pure light. Pure light, love, truth, grace, peace, all consciousness, all knowingness. And having left the body way behind, and even the mind, the spirit starts to experience complete oneness with all that ever was, ever will be, and all that is, and complete understanding of all of it. Imagine such consciousness and hold that. It is accessible to every one of us. At moments, we're in human bodies. We slip in and out. And we all have access to it. We need not have to die first. Okay? And in that light, some of us are given a choice to come back and some are not. Some are spoken to and some are not. The stories and the details are all different, and the essential core learning and truth is similar. But in my case, I was spoken to by a voice I heard really well. And by the way, every time everyone's spoken to in the light by a voice is exactly the voice they need to hear, in exactly the language and exactly the tone. that we need to hear. And I heard this voice say, Lewis, you are called here to have this conversation and to be sent back because you're not doing your work. In response to which I said, I surrender, take me, I'm yours, I will do your work. I must have been imagining I was being called to be a missionary of sorts. And I was told immediately, no, Lewis, it's not my work you need to do. It's your work. It's your work. It's your work. It's your work. We each are doing our own work, and I got it very clearly. It's your work you need to do, Lewis. Great. Tell me, what is my work? Here I was in a place where, since all truth is known, I expected the source of all truth to be able to make it easier for me. Didn't happen. No, Lewis. What is it that keeps you from being all you are capable of being? Ask yourselves, each of you, that very thinkable question, even though it's this unthinkable moment of death and this unexpected moment where suddenly the car is totaled, that whole life is left behind, and you are with the source of all truth, being asked, what is it that keeps you from being all you're capable of being? I didn't know. So all I could do is dig so deeply to come up with, it might be a piece of it, which was, and we're all on our own paths, doing our own work, coming in different doors toward all of this same truth we reach. So my path and my door, I figured out, has to have something to do with the fact that I was raised with love, privilege, education, endless opportunity, by parents of two founding families of states and corporations with leadership skills and values, and I thought, what's missing? Until I went deeper and got that in addition to the words that we're all one under God, I was also given the words that, well, noblesse oblige, you have more than others, so give back. And I went deeper and realized that with those gifts, I had created a feeling of a betterment, and that I had to help others who didn't have as much. And yet I started to discover loneliness, that even though I was told we're all one under God, my experience was, well, we may all be one under God, but somehow I and my tribe am better than you and your tribe. Woo. And the gap that created in me between my spirit and yours was so deep that I didn't know how to bridge it. So I was told, just like Amadeus was just like Mozart was in the movie Amadeus, when that perfect note was hit, there it is. I was told, there it is, Lewis, there's your work. And I was sent back down without any knowledge about how my life would change. And what happened was doors started to open. Another learning from another weakness of thinking that I could control what doors I wanted to open became that doors opened on their own and others closed on their own. And if I could just notice that, if each of us could just notice that, and then move through the doors that open and then use whatever skills we're given in this body and this life experiences to help co-create with the universe.
But the reality we're living towards is a lot bigger than we can imagine. But that's also been a long tradition. The Catholic Church often mentions these things through saints who said it's completely different. And that's also been my experience. It's completely different. It's a lot better. And nothing can go wrong. If I want to summarize this whole jumble, we're talking about 20 years of thinking and processing. If I could be able to summarize this in one sentence, a sentence that carries weight, other sentences, however, seem very weird to me afterwards. Nothing can go wrong. And what does this mean? Your life? Of course I know. Due to my job, I'm confronted with cases where things go wrong badly, and that there are things that cannot be answered. That you might ask yourself, where is God? There cannot be a God. Thinking about God as a person, well, that's all very difficult, but in the end, I can still sum it up as nothing can go wrong. And this is life-changing.
Where a bright light in the distance began to get closer and closer. And as the light got closer and closer, it just encompassed me in a full way that's not really possible to explain here. It wrapped me in a feeling of total peace and comfort that I had never known before and have never known since. And as this happened, I rapidly began to ask questions. Now, when I say ask questions, this isn't in the way we communicate in this world. It was as if the second I began to think the question, the answer was given to me in a multitude of ways. I would know it from its history, for its reasons it was happening. For instance, I said at one point, what is the meaning of life? And this being, who I personally believe was God, or at least a representative of God, if not God himself, communicated to me not the word love, but the understanding of love, an understanding of love that I really couldn't have had before, because I just thought, well, love, you know, you love your mother, you love your dog, you know, peace, love, you know, all that. But it wasn't that. It was a love that was total and all-encompassing.
But he showed me what my purpose was. And this is kind of frustrating for me, Lee, because I've heard teacher after guru, after priest, after minister say that the reason we're here is either for a test or to learn and grow, learn lessons and grow and move to the next level. But that's not what, that wasn't it. That there was nowhere to grow to there. There was no lessons to learn. There was nothing like that. And I was told what my purpose was and what your purpose is. And it sounds kind of simple, but it's not. It's a very complex and multidimensional thing. Listener, your purpose is to love. That's it. And love is not just the warm fuzzies. Love expresses itself in so many different ways. As a matter of fact, it was very clear there that this stuff, the world that we live in, like rocks and almost everything is made out of love. You are made out of love. It was so clear there. And, you know, sometimes when I travel around the country and I speak, when I get to this point where I tell people what your purpose is to love, boom, the lights go on. You know, I see the light bulbs above people's heads. Oh, that's right. So, you know, the idea of learning and growing and all that seems to make sense on the surface because we do mature as we grow older. But it wasn't like that there. There was no place to grow to.
And if all of our questions are answered on the other side, then what is it more that we have to learn?
Exactly.
So I think you're right on target with that.
You got it, Lee. You got it.
Next headline was, he then showed me how absolutely critical my purpose was in creation. Creation, by the way, I'm talking about me, but really I'm talking about you, the viewer, because this is about you. There is no way that the universe, that creation could possibly unfold without you fulfilling your purpose. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. What's my purpose? You know, why am I here? Sometimes it seems kind of pointless. Like, you know, I go to my stupid job and I got my stupid boss and I go home and I watch TV and there's got to be something more, right? And I've heard lots of answers to that about purpose. I've heard minister after guru, after priest, after pastor, after teacher, make the claim that our purpose here is to learn and grow and learn lessons and move to the next level. And then so that each time we do this, if there's such thing as reincarnation, you know, I can't answer that. I can't answer that question. But to progress to the next level of spiritual awareness until we achieve spiritual perfection or something. But I was told what my purpose was and what your purpose is, and it had nothing to do with learning or growing or moving to the next level. It kind of, on the surface, it sounds like it makes sense, right? Because obviously, as human beings, we grow, we mature, we learn lessons, and we, you know, hopefully, and we get wiser as we get older. But so that kind of fits that idea. But I was told very clearly what our purpose is, and your purpose is to love. It's that simple. Hard to pull off cleanly, but you are here to love. And I'm not just talking about the warm fuzzies. Most people, when you say the word love, they think warm fuzzies. Love is a far more multi-dimensional, complex thing than just the warm fuzzies. There, it's very obvious. Everything is made out of love. Made out of it. Like, this is love. This is an expression of God's love. And if you don't like the word God, use whatever word you want.
To bring it down onto a more personal level, I want to share with you the 5 biggest lessons I learned from this experience. Number 1, the most important thing that I learned, the most important thing we have here to focus our awareness on is love. That is number 1. And when I say love, it's very easy to say, or for us to say, we need to love other people. But one of the things I learned is that one of the reasons I got cancer is because I didn't love myself. That's hugely important. When we love ourselves, we value ourselves. When we value ourselves, we teach people how to treat us. When you love yourself, you find no need to control or bully other people, nor do you allow other people to control or bully you. So loving yourself is as important as loving everybody else. And the more you love yourself, the more love you have to give other people. Number 2, the next biggest lesson I learned was to live life fearlessly. Most of us are brought up on a diet of fear. We're taught to fear everything. I used to fear everything. I used to fear cancer. I used to fear eating the wrong foods. I used to fear displeasing people. I feared just about everything. I feared failing, and most of us are brought up fearing everything. And people think that fear keeps you safe. That's actually not true. Love keeps you safe. When you love yourself and when you love other people, you'll make sure that you keep yourself safe and that you keep other people out of danger's way. Love keeps you much safer than fear does. The third thing I learned that is so important is humor and laughter and joy. We're born knowing this stuff. We're born knowing that it's important to laugh because that's what kids do all the time. We're born knowing love and fearlessness, but it gets conditioned out of us as we grow up. Laughter is so important, and humor and finding your joy in life. It's more important than any other spiritual activity that you can think of. If we had more laughter, in fact, if even our politicians learned to laugh, we'd have a very different world. And if we had more laughter, you would have less people with illness, you'd need less hospitals, and you'd need less prisons as well. The fourth thing I learned is that life is a gift. It really is. Most of us live our lives as though life is a chore, but it shouldn't be that way. And it's unfortunate that only when we lose something that we value do we really realize the true value of it. And it took me losing my life to realize the value of my life. And I don't want other people to make the same mistake, which is why I'm standing here sharing my message. Because I don't want people to realize when it's too late the value of their life. And your life is a gift. Even the challenges that come to you are a gift. When I had cancer, that was the biggest challenge I could ever have. But today when I look back on it, I feel it's the biggest gift I could have had. People think that the cancer, or even I thought the cancer was killing me. But actually, I was killing myself before I got cancer. The cancer saved my life. All your challenges are gifts. In the end, you will in the end, you will always find that your challenges are a gift. And if you're in a challenge and it doesn't feel like a gift yet, it means you haven't got to the end yet. The fifth and final thing, which is so important that I learned, is that the most important thing for you is to always be yourself. Be as you can be. Shine your light as brightly as you can. Embrace your uniqueness. Just realize who you are, get to know who you are, love yourself unconditionally, and just be yourself. And with those 5 things, I invite you to go and live your life fearlessly.
He said, I just sat there on that back pew and I thought, who would stand up for me? He said, that man was making some of the finest golden footprints I've ever imagined on this face of the earth. He said, it's made me rethink this whole process, and I think I'm going to go visit my neighbor, and I'm going to go tell him how much it meant to me. He chopped the ice on my pond this last winter when I was so weak from all the chemo and radiation, I couldn't swing an axe. And he never said anything about it. He just did it. I'm going to tell my kids how much I appreciate them. He said, they're good kids. I want them to have good memories of me talking to them about how I love them. I'm going to tell my wife how much I appreciate all she does. And I'm going to quit eating dinner in front of the TV with my Roy Rogers TV tray, and I'm going to come in there and sit at the table with them. Spend time with them. He said, I do have to be honest with you and tell you I might not be as quick and as good about my mother-in-law. He said, but I'll try. He said, you know, she's not really a bad sort either. I'm going to try to hang out with her a little bit more. He said, I think it's really important that I give that church $5 instead of $2. And he said, I might let that minister shake my hand. He's not a bad guy either. He said, you know, church isn't for perfect people. He said, you know, in the same pew there might be somebody that's a cussing person and somebody might be a snob. He said, I think that church is for everybody. I said, well, I want to tell you this. You, my friend, have left golden footprints here today. There wasn't a dry eye in my recliners where these people were lined up getting their chemo. Because you see, each one of those people heard him, and it touched them, and it made a difference. He was saying things that a sermon would give to other people. I put the Band-Aid on his hand after taking his IV out. He put his sweat-stained cowboy hat on, and he nodded to each one as he left without saying a word. And he shuffled off in his cowboy boots to the elevator, and he left. You are all precious and beloved. Don't ever forget that. And everything that you do does matter to somebody else. Find out whatever it is that you do well and do it. Give to the world, give to your neighbors, give to others, because you have it within you. Everybody does. That special talent, that special gift.
It was like, this is for everybody. What your particular preference was on this or that in terms of your politics or your religion didn't seem to be a big issue at all. Do you love each other? Do you care about each other? Do you help each other? Those were the basic things that I came away with. Not are you from the Lutheran Church and I'm from the Catholic Church, and I don't know if I can talk with you. I mean, do we have anything in common here?
And I was in the light. It was all light. Everything's made with light. That's why it all radiates. That's when I understood that consciousness affects light, and everything is light, and our consciousness has a direct impact on our universe. And so, you know, and so prayer is powerful. I tell people that now. But what I've come to understand is conscious prayer, everybody knows and understands what its purpose is, right? What I now understand is it's all thought is prayer, and it affects the entire universe because of quantum entanglement. And so be careful what you pray for all day long. So I'm learning these things, and now I'm coming to the point of understanding why love and positive thoughts and all of that is so important. And as I've changed my way of thinking, I've literally changed my body and restoring my health, doing it that way, and being kind and loving as I can. And all that stuff was really cool and neat to learn, but it really was a waste of time, because all we have to do is just love God with all our heart, and the way we do that is love each other unconditionally, because God is in every one of us. So when I'm loving you, I'm loving God. So if I'm not loving you, I'm not loving God. And so love God with all our heart, love each other like that, learn how to love unconditionally, and take care of this planet. If we all did that, we'd have heaven on earth right now.
You know, I feel that people really need this information because there's a lot of fear about death. Either your friend has died, or your grandmother's died, or you're facing death, you're terminally ill. People need to realize that perhaps getting to death is not going to be a great fun thing to do. No one wants to look forward to death. But you can look forward to what's on the other side. It is such a beautiful feeling. I feel that we have such an amazing experience awaiting us, and that we don't end. Our consciousness continues on. So even though we shed that, wetsuit of a body, you have a beautiful outcome awaiting you after the point of death. So don't fear it. Look forward to it. Change your life to also include a lot of love and a lot of helping others and focusing on good things, because those people who've had a near-death experience and gone beyond mine, that had a life review, often report that they feel what the other person felt when they were dealing with people throughout their life. So I think that all of us should kind of aim towards a good life review. So do good things. Go out there and have a happy life, enjoy it, enjoy every day, and find ways to be happy, because that's what we're here for. That's what our experience is for.
I want you to know that I am not afraid of dying at all. Not one bit. I've been at so many bedsides, I can't begin to tell you the number. And I am not afraid. I believe that we are beautiful spiritual beings who are here for a very, very brief time in these clay vessels to learn lessons for our souls, and to learn how to love one another better, to learn how to treat each other the way that God wants us to treat each other. And then I think we move forward. I believe that we are here with great purpose and on purpose. Do not think for a minute that you're an accident. And you were born to who you were born to. And you were with people that you are with now as a great divine plan. We learn from our families a lot sometimes that we don't want to learn. But they are teaching us as hopefully we are teaching them. I believe we're here to take care of the earth too, and all the animals, the plants, everything. And when we do that, my patients teach me that it's not about getting an award. It's not about getting a pat on the back or applause. It's because it's our duty and a really wonderful opportunity. You see, all those who tell me of their near-death experiences say they want to contribute in any way to make a difference in whatever their life has left for them here. in whatever little town they live in, whatever community, whatever business they're doing. And they love sharing their story, and they don't care whether you believe them or not. That does not matter to them. That's not a big deal to them. Doesn't matter, because they're safe in their stories. They love their stories, and it's all good for them. And I never tire of hearing another one.
I can go out and watch a sunrise, and it's an absolute miracle. Like heaven's right here. I see the flowers grow. That's a miracle. I mean, smell the fresh air, feel the rain on your skin, and think, wow, it's so incredible to be in this realm and to be alive, and there is no death, and I'm having this experience, and there is no judgment. I'm going to move from this, and I'll tell you, when we pass from this life, we're going to be embraced by loving arms and simply asked, what did you learn? Tell me about what you learned in your experience. What was it like to be like that? What was it like to be you? What was it like to have this or not have that? And it's all going to be a collective oneness of, wow, look what we learned. Look what we created. Look at the uniqueness. And we'll realize we always were one. We always were connected. It was just our inability to embrace it and realize it that held us back. It's difficult because so much of our society just struggles day to day. It's hand to mouth. How do I survive? You know, how do I make enough money to pay the rent and to put groceries on the table? There's no time or energy for how do I assist others? How do I make a difference in the world? I've found a key for me, and it's if I can take only 10 minutes a day. I mean, I'd rather take an hour, but even 10 minutes to be still and just reconnect. Like always be connected. Just remember that connection. Remember who I am. Remember that everything's in divine order, and let go of the fear. Let go of the contention. Let go of that doubt that there's not enough. You know, we live in such fear that there's not enough. There's not enough money. There's not enough food. There's not enough time. There's not enough love. And yet if we can let go of that and realize there is enough. And I think the key for me was realizing that I'm enough. I'm enough. I mean, I limp around on one leg and I do the best I can, but I am enough by simply being me, by simply showing up in light, in love, and loving the people around me and taking care of those around me. And when I say taking care of, just energetically, you know, I will probably never make enough money. You know, I'll probably never have, but then again, what's money? It's just energy. I've had lots of money and I've had nothing. And it didn't make me any happier one way or the other. You know, I mean, there's always that, well, I want more money, or I need to make more this, or if I only had more money, I could get that. They're just things, you know, they're just things. I remember sleeping in the backseat of my car at one point when I was young. And I had nothing, but I didn't need anything. I mean, I was fine. Money is not who I am, and none of it is who I am. If I really get in touch with, I'm not the car, I'm not the house, I'm not the job, I'm not my partner, I'm not the shoes or the clothes or anything else. I am all of it. I am that I am. I am the divine. I am me, and me is enough just the way I am. And I can be my contribution in this universe without even trying, by just simply being me. I've had to let go of control and expectations and comparisons. I have some dear friends that are native, indigenous people. And there's a beautiful story that I was told once because I asked about that. How do I control? How do I fix? How do I make? And this wise elder said, no. And then he told a story. He said, when you get in the river, when you fight the current, the harder you try to swim, you sink. He said, when you relax, when you let go, when you go with the flow, the current will take you exactly where you're meant to be. And it's interesting. I've been in the water. Swimming is one of the only things I can do anymore where I move my body, but it's true. The harder you fight the water, the faster you sink. And if you just let go and relax and float, it's peaceful, it's easy, and there is order in the universe. We'll be exactly where we're meant to be. And we're divine beings, and we're here to make the world a better place and literally create peace and joy for everyone. I have no doubt we could do it. We're powerful, powerful people. Any community is very powerful when they step up and decide and choose a difference. I mean, never underestimate the power of a small group of people who are focused on change. There's thousands of examples and thousands of barriers that have been overcome where people find peace, they come together, and I think humanity's awakening and actually doing it worldwide.
And what I do is ask myself 3 questions frequently. And those questions are, the first one is, if I only had a year to live, what would I do? If I only had a year to live, what would I do? And when I ask myself that question, I often write, then, what would I do? And that gives me direction and clarity. Okay, this is what I need to focus on. The other thing that I ask myself is, if I died today, what would my biggest regret be? Now, if I walked out of here today and I got hit by a car, what would I regret? For years, for me, one of those things was, if I die before I get my book done, I'll really regret that. And it motivated me. That question motivated me. And the final question that I ask is, how do I leave people? Think about this morning when you left your house, or the last time you left loved ones. How did you leave them? Did you tell them that you loved them? Did you hug them? Did you argue? Because if that's how you left them, they're going to carry that, as Garrett so wisely said, for eternity. They're going to carry that argument. As a grief counselor, I know that how people leave each other can be very traumatic later if they didn't. A few years ago, I went home for a visit, well, quite a few years ago. I was still living in Nebraska, and it was before cell phones. I had a fight with my parents, and I lived 400 miles away. Got mad, jumped in my car, drove 400 miles. So for 400 miles, 8 hours, they didn't know where I was. And then I called my dad. I finally calmed down. And he said, Cheryl, don't ever do that again. If something would have happened to you, we would have felt awful. And if something would have happened to one of us, and that's how you left us, you would have felt horrible. So pay attention to how you leave people. I once was with a patient who I felt the desire to go and tell her how much she meant to me. She had really touched me. We had really connected. But as I was leaving, I stopped and I wanted to go tell her how much she meant to me. And then I looked at my watch. I'm like, I don't have time. I'll tell her later. Well, later never came. She died that week. So pay attention to those urges and tell people how much they mean to you. Author Norman Cousins says, death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss in life is what dies inside of us while we live. So pay attention to what you desire. Garrett spoke beautifully to this lesson at 17. He said, don't leave anything unsaid. Tell people what they mean to you. Take risks. Do things you've never done before. Have a tremendous amount of fun. And don't worry about the future. Very wise words, and I feel so honored to have been able to share them with you. Thank you for this opportunity.
We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness.
Det är nu som livet är mitt. Jag har fått en stund här på jorden och min längtan har fört mig hit. Det jag saknat och det jag fått. Det är ändå vägen jag valt. Min förtröstan långt bortom orden som har visat en liten bit av den himmel jag aldrig når.